It's a family.
The family.
Family. Sometimes it is shelter from the storm. Sometimes it is the storm itself.
Have you ever met someone at work, in your family, at a bar late at night, who looks like nothing can touch them? The kind of person you almost envy because life keeps hitting them and they keep not flinching. And then, for 1 second, when they thought you weren't looking, you caught their face. And whatever was on it in that second was so heavy that you've never quite been able to forget it. This video is about that face. Welcome to Subtext Studio, a channel about the things characters can't say out loud, the wound underneath the costume, the silence underneath the line. Today we're going to talk about Thomas Shelby, not the Thomas Shelby of 1,000 Sigma edits, not the cold gangster, not the king of Birmingham, not the man you're supposed to want to be. We're going to talk about the man who, when the house finally goes quiet, hears something on the other side of the wall that nobody else can hear. And we're going to talk about why the most controlled character on television has been, for 30 years, very slowly, falling. A fall that, by the end of this video, you may recognize. In yourself, he's been shot at and didn't flinch. He's been told he has cancer and laughed. He's been pushed against a wall by men with guns, and his pulse stayed flat. The most powerful gangster in Birmingham, and possibly, by the end, in all of Britain, has one trait the camera keeps returning to, season after season. He is not afraid of dying. People watch this and think it makes him strong. It doesn't. Tommy Shelby came back from France in 1918, but not all of him did. People watch Tommy and want to be him. They get it backwards. Tommy isn't controlled because he's powerful. Tommy is controlled because he's holding something underneath, with both hands, every second of every day. And if he lets go for even a moment, it will come up and drown him.
I see a general anywhere near the blood and the puke. Hey?
That isn't strength. That is the posture of a man trying not to scream in public. You can see it in tiny moments. When the house is quiet, when the children are asleep, when the deal is done, when he should, by any normal logic, be at peace. He goes to the stable. He pours another whiskey. He lights another cigarette. He stares at a wall, because the moment he stops moving, he hears it. The digging. Soft. Steady. Coming from the other side of the wall. The Germans are still in the tunnel. They have been, for 30 years. He is the only one who can hear them. Tommy was a tunneler, a clay kicker. In the First World War, on the Western Front, both sides dug tunnels under each other's trenches. They packed those tunnels with explosives, and then they detonated them, blowing the men above into nothing. Tommy's job was to be the one with the shovel, underground, in the dark, for days, for weeks, sometimes months. You'd hear the enemy digging on the other side of the clay. You'd know that whichever side detonated first, won, and whichever side detonated second, was buried alive. Whoever invented the term clay kicker thought they were describing a profession. What they were actually describing was a state of being. A clay kicker is a man whose entire existence is reduced to one thing: listening, in the dark, for the moment he is going to be killed. And here is what nobody who didn't do it can understand. You don't stop being a clay kicker just because the war ends. The world above ground may look like Birmingham, but the wiring underneath is still the tunnel. He told us, in his own words, what happened to him down there. He said, "I died in France." People hear that line and think it's poetic, a figure of speech. It isn't.
Sometimes it is the storm itself.
He means it literally. The boy who left Birmingham in 1914, the one with the easy smile, the one Polly remembers as a different person, that boy stopped existing in a tunnel in northern France. What walked back to Small Heath in 1919 was something else. The same body, the same voice, but not the same animal. There's a name for this. An American psychiatrist named Jonathan Shea, who spent his life working with Vietnam veterans, called it moral injury. It is not PTSD. PTSD is the wound of what you witnessed. Moral injury is the wound of what you did. The thing that breaks isn't your sense of safety, it is your sense of self. You can patch a man up after he sees horror. You cannot patch a man up after he has been horror. Tommy was horror, with a shovel, in a tunnel, for 4 years. And ever since 1919, he has been doing one thing. He has been pretending to still be alive. This is why he isn't afraid of dying, because dying would only be the official confirmation of something that already happened. The signature on a document everyone else has been pretending didn't exist. He has been a dead man walking since he was 25 years old. And dead men, as it turns out, are very hard to frighten. So why does he do all of it? The Peaky blinders, the bookmaking, the factories, the opium trade, the political seat, the OBE, the country houses, the horses. Why does a man who is already dead, who is not afraid of dying, build an empire? The real answer is simpler and sadder. He builds the empire because if he stops, he hears the digging. The empire is noise. Every deal is noise. Every meeting, every drink, every horse race, every late-night conversation at the garrison, noise, noise, to drown out a sound that started in 1914 and never stopped. There is an old Greek story about a man named Sisyphus. The gods condemned him to push a boulder up a hill. Forever. Every time he reached the top, it rolled back down. A French philosopher named Albert Camus wrote about Sisyphus. He said, "This is the human condition. We are all pushing a rock that will always roll back down." Most people, Camus said, distract themselves. They never look at the rock. They pretend the pushing is going somewhere. Tommy is different. Tommy knows the rock is meaningless. He has known this since 1918, and Tommy pushes anyway, harder than anyone else, because the alternative sitting down at the bottom of the hill, in the silence, is a thing he cannot survive. In the rare moments when the show makes him stop, you see what happens. He stares at the wall, he pours a drink, he goes to the stables. Because the silence is the worst place on earth. The silence is the tunnel. The silence is 1918. By season 6, Tommy has it all. He owns everything. He sits in the House of Lords, and it changes nothing. The digging is still there. He bought every distraction the world has on offer. And at the end of it, the wall still whispered. Now we come to the cruelest part, the part most viewers miss because they're too busy admiring his coats. Look at who Tommy loves. Grace, shot dead in front of him. Bullet meant for him. Polly, gunned down in her own house. Killed because of him. John, machine gunned on his own doorstep. Ruby, his 8-year-old daughter, dead of a fever he was too far away to be there for. You see the pattern? Tommy is a curse on the people who love him. And here's the question that breaks the show open, if you really sit with it. Does Tommy know? The answer is yes. He has done the math. He has buried the bodies. He has stood at the gravesides. And from a certain season onward, you can watch him make a quiet decision. If you love me, I will push you away. Because if I don't, you will die. This is why he ends up alone. Not because he doesn't love. The opposite. He loves so much, and has been punished so consistently for that love that he has learned to make himself unlovable on purpose. To withdraw. To get drunk. To go cold. To not be there. To anyone watching from outside, this looks like a man becoming a monster. To him, this is the most generous thing he can do for the people he loves. He is destroying himself in front of them.
First and last.
Slowly, so they will give up on him before the curse takes them too. C.S. Lewis, after losing the woman he loved to cancer, wrote that to love at all is to be vulnerable, that if you give your heart to anything, it will be wrung and probably broken. The only way to keep your heart safe, he wrote, is to give it to no one. Lewis wrote that as a warning, as a thing he could not bring himself to do. Tommy has done it. Have you ever loved someone like this? Someone whose coldness, whose self-destruction didn't quite feel like rejection, felt sometimes almost like protection, like they were trying to ruin themselves before you could love them enough to be ruined by it. Or, and this is the harder question, have you ever been that person? Have you ever pulled back from someone who was getting too close, started a fight that wasn't really about the thing you were fighting about, disappeared into work, or alcohol, or your phone, because being known was beginning to feel dangerous? If you have, even once, then you already understand Tommy Shelby better than any character analysis can teach you, because his tragedy is the same. He believes his love is poison. And so he spends his whole life trying to make sure you don't drink it. Interlude. Before we get to the last frame of the show, I want to say one thing that almost no other essay will say. I have one criticism of Peaky Blinders. Just one. The show treats Tommy's pain too beautifully. The cinematography, the slow motion walking, the Nick Cave songs, the way every brooding shot of CillianMurphy's face is lit like a Caravaggio painting. The show makes his suffering look gorgeous, and that is the show's one quiet failure, because there is a generation of young men right now who watch Tommy Shelby and want to be him. They take screenshots, they put quotes on Instagram, they call it Sigma. They build a whole online identity around the aesthetic of a man whose entire existence, if you actually understand the show, is a slow motion death. The show is beautiful, and in being beautiful, it accidentally sells the very thing it is trying to mourn. So before we get to the last image, I want to say this directly. Don't take the aesthetic without the diagnosis. Tommy Shelby is not a man to imitate. He is a man to grieve. There is an image in the show's final season that holds the whole thing. Tommy, alone, walking through a field. No suit, no empire, no deal. Just him, and the grass, and the horse he is leading. He has tried, by this point, to stop drinking, to stop fighting, to stop building, to finally sit at the bottom of the hill. And the show shows you what that costs him. The silence almost kills him, until, in the end, the only way he can find anything close to rest is to set his own house on fire and ride away. Burn the dream. Burn the version of himself that wanted a normal life. Because that version died in a tunnel in 1918, and he has been carrying its body ever since. Most people watch Peaky Blinders for the suits. I think the show is about something else. I think it is about all the men and women you have ever met. Your fathers, your grandfathers, the quiet ones at the end of the bar, the ones who came back from wars or prisons or terrible childhoods, or from things they will never name. Who have been pretending to still be alive for 30, 40, 50 years, who built lives that, from the outside, looked like victory, while underground, in some private, dark place no one else could hear, the digging continued. They were never the strong ones. They were the ones who learned, very early, that the show must go on, and we called it strength, because the alternative, admitting that something in them died, in a war we will never know the name of, and never came back, was too much for us to look at. But those people are not only your fathers, not only the men in your life. Sometimes, late at night, they are you, when you walk into the kitchen at 2 a.m., not because you are hungry, but because you cannot sit still. That is the digging. When you pick up your phone for the 7th time in an hour, not because anyone is texting you, but because the silence has started to feel dangerous, that is the digging. When you say yes to one more project, one more drink, one more anything, because slowing down feels like it might let something through, that is the digging. Remember, at the start of this video, I asked you whether you'd ever met someone whose face, in an unguarded second, was heavier than you knew how to forget. I want to ask you something harder now. Has anyone ever caught your face like that? In an elevator, in a car, in a window reflection you weren't expecting to see? Have you ever, for 1 second, been the person who couldn't quite hide it? If you have, then Thomas Shelby is not. Only a fictional gangster from a fictional Birmingham. Thomas Shelby is, sometimes, on certain Tuesday nights at 2 in the morning, when you can't quite remember why you got out of bed. Thomas Shelby is not a man you should want to be. He is a man you should want to forgive for the people in your life who couldn't stop building because the silence terrified them, for the people who pushed you away because they believed their love was a curse, for the people who looked so strong from the outside that no one ever thought to ask what was happening underground. And, most importantly, for yourself. For every night you have spent manufacturing noise against a sound only you can hear. You don't have to fix anything tonight. But before you click off this video, I want you to do one thing. I want you to sit for 1 minute in silence, somewhere in your house, and let yourself hear what has been digging on the other side of the wall. Not to fight it, not to fix it, just to acknowledge that some part of you came back from something, and some part of you didn't. And the part that didn't deserves to be mourned by you, because no one else has ever known it was down there. Thanks for watching. Welcome to subscribe my channel. Peace out.